For a medium that focuses so heavily on escapism and fantasy, it feels out of place when we exclude others from taking part. But unfortunately, for players that have disabilities, they are often left out of the equation when designing games. And that's disappointing, especially considering just how preventable this can be. Not too long ago, a group of developers and researchers came together to make a massively helpful guide to assist developers in this area. Some of the proposed changes can be a bit difficult to implement, especially if you're a small developer, but there are also plenty of simple and easy fixes that can make an incredible difference for a large number of people. So, with the hope to shed some light on more inclusion, this video will cover some of the most common issues in accessibility and how to fix them. Video games distinguish themselves from other mediums by their interactivity. So, being able to have full control over the game is pretty important to the experience. For those with motor disabilities, such as muscular dystrophy or an amputation, this makes it difficult or sometimes even impossible to play a game. Although there are controllers out there that aid in accessibility, like the new controller by Microsoft, for example, this isn't enough on its own. Instead, games should allow for remappable controls, so players can pick and choose the best way for them to interact with the game. Funnily enough, this is a standard in almost every single PC game, but on consoles, this is usually very rare, and you have to pick from a set of predefined layouts. These will cover common situations, like being left-handed, but if you don't find yourself on the list, you're simply out of luck. Also, and this is speaking almost exclusively to Nintendo here, please, let us disable motion controls. You can't do it in games like Super Mario Party, so there's a lot of people who just can't play the game. And if you can't play with your friends in Mario Party, I think we're missing the point somewhere. Anyways, next on the list. Cognitive design has to do with all things thought related, like memory or processing information. Games will usually require players to recall a variety of different information, such as controls, their objective, and a game's story. Thankfully, a lot of modern games today don't have this problem. Most every game will have some way for the player to look at that information, such as a quest tracker, which has relevant information on a player's objective that they can always refer to. Helpful UI elements, such as a minimap, are also great ways to provide that information to the player, and having this available during gameplay ensures that the player doesn't have to stop every couple minutes to check what their objective is. However, UI elements can quickly jump from being a helpful addition to an issue in itself. If developers aren't careful, the screens can easily become cluttered with intrusive information that is constantly vying for the player's attention. Or, sometimes the reverse is true, and the information isn't intrusive enough, leading to small text that is difficult to read, or effects that blend in with the rest of the screen. Some games, like World of Warcraft, are complex enough that giving the player full control over every detail of their UI is the best solution. But for most games, this is unnecessarily complex, and you should actually limit things to just simple options, such as what information should and shouldn't be displayed, and how large. Especially text. For some reason, developers love to make text as small as they possibly can, with little or no option to change it. This actually leads into our next category. Audio accessibility lives and dies by subtitles. They should be the easiest decision you'll ever have to make. Movies and television have been nailing it for years, with large text, easy to read font, and making sure it contrasts against the background. Those three incredibly simple things are the only thing you need to make nice, easy to read subtitles so that everybody, even those with hearing disabilities, can follow along with what's happening in the story. But despite being so simple to make, almost every single game has the worst subtitles I have ever seen. I mean, look at these. They're microscopic, and they usually fill them to the brim with as much text as they possibly can. It forces the player to split their time between playing the game and reading paragraphs of text. But probably my biggest problem is when there's absolutely no contrast between the text and the background. Like here, in this example from Battlefront 2, it's impossible to make out what they're saying sometimes. And, as you could guess, it's a pretty easy fix. All you gotta do is add a little semi-transparent box, and boom, now you can see the text against any background. This list was of course just a small taste of what a disabled player might actually face. But even if we just made these few things as standard in game development, It would make an incredible difference in so many lives. And again, if any of this struck a chord with you, please check out the full list in the description down below. Accessibility might seem daunting at first, but it's actually a lot easier to implement than you think, and it will absolutely always be worth it.